Well, it was déjà vu this week for those of us who remember our recent history, or perhaps who are old enough to have gone through the worst part of the apartheid regime. You know the time when the National Party government and its spokespeople came out and always said all the trouble, the rebellion in the streets, whether it was 1960, 1976, was the cause of white communists manipulating the malleable, ignorant black majority. This week, however, there was a special irony, because it was Gwede Mantashe, the former chairman of the Communist Party, leading communist, former General Secretary of the National Union of Mine Workers, and now the Secretary General of the ANC, who turned around and blamed the whole strike in the Platinum Belt and the national crisis that this has resulted in on white foreigners. I don't know what you think, but I certainly think that a comment like that from the old regime or from the new is equally arrogant, elitist and fundamentally racist. The ANC also said that they condemned the strike because it was political. Of course it's political. And the politics really came into it because the immediate roots of this strike lie in what happened in the bloody tragedy of the massacre at Marikana. And what has come out since then in the Farlam Commission has shown what Dali Mpofu, the advocate, referred to as the toxic collusion between the state, the ANC, and, in that case, Lonmin. So it's always been political. But of course what Gwede Mantashe was really referring to, and he's not the first time, was to the democratic socialist movement that certainly got involved in the strike, as did many others. The UDM, the United Democratic Movement of Bantu Holomisa, the Democratic Left Front, and of course the economic freedom fighters. They all rushed in to help the miners, but of course to make political capital. That's the nature of politics. You can't get away from it. The ANC couldn't get involved, of course, because they found themselves on the opposite side of the table, on the side of mine management. And that is one of the problems. Now, of course, the Democratic Socialist Movement is a tiny group, a very small group that used to be, in the old days, part of the Marxist workers' tendency within the ANC. And they have actually founded a political party, the Workers' and Socialist Party, WASP, which actually contested the May 7 elections. Now, what happened there? They scored 8,300 and something votes out of more than 18 million votes cast. You know, that's hardly, I would say, hardly influential. I wasn't going to write about any of this tomorrow in my Inside Labour column on this platform, Fin24, and in print, the City Press business section on Sunday. I was going to leave it be. But then, of course, as you've all probably heard, the government mediator, Nwako Ramatlhodi, I beg your pardon, the new mines minister, who seemed to be doing a good job. He seemed to be bringing the parties together, suddenly stepped aside. He says he hasn't stepped down, just aside. But this raised all sorts of questions. Did he jump? Was he pushed? If he jumped, why? If he was pushed, who pushed and why was he pushed? It created, again, confusion. So I've decided once again to deal with this, which is a national crisis. But I shall deal with it in a way that I think is summed up by one of my favorite quotations, and it's from the American poet and author who recently died, Maya Angelou. She said, "History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived." And that is true. It cannot be unlived. But, she said, she went on to say, but if faced with courage, need not be lived again. And that is important. And this is what is missing, I think. Courage. Courage to take new and innovative steps. Courage to intervene in a humane way. Or perhaps, depending on how you define courage, to crack the whip, to come down hard, as the Smuts government did in 1922 and in 1946, if we're talking about mine workers. Well, that's what I'll be writing again. But this is what I'd like you to comment on. This platform is as much yours as it is mine. Give us your comments, give us your analysis, give us your opinions. It's on, you just have to send them in to editor@fin24.com. And for this week, that's all from me. Cheers.